G'day guys, Viv here again. Thanks for sticking with me so far with all these camera troubles I've been having and these short little ramble videos that I've been putting up whilst I've been trying to get my camera and the whole editing and music thing sorted out. So everything's back on schedule, everything is working again. So I think I vaguely showed you in one of the videos before, these are very simple ruined buildings for City Fight. So obviously these ones haven't been finished yet. The lines on here are simply for making sure my windows and stuff are all level and for adding a little bit of detail later on to these buildings. So without any more stuffing around, let's get into the tutorial. In the first part of this series, we're going to see how we can actually get to this stage. It's very, very simple and very, very easy. I hope you enjoy. Thanks very much. Okay, so let's have a look at the materials that we will be using for this project to make our City Fight terrain. So I like to use two different size rulers. One is just a normal size 30 centimetre ruler or 12 inches, and the other one is a 60 centimetre ruler or 32 inches. Sorry, 24 inches. It's always nice to have a strong utility knife on hand. Make sure it's got sharp blades in it. You also like to have a hobby knife or an X-Acto blade on hand. I like to keep the caps on my knives because I'm a messy worker and they get lost underneath bits of cardboard and stuff. If you've got spare blades on hand, I'd strongly recommend that you get some if you don't, because they do come in handy, and I'll explain what for in a minute. Our second ruler. Some sort of pen or a pencil or something like that to make marks. I've got a sheet of cardboard here. Now in this tutorial I'm not going to use the cardboard, simply because I've already started on some stuff made from foam core, but I will show a very quick example of how to use the cardboard. The processes are exactly the same. So what I'm going to be using in place of the cardboard here is this sheet of 3mm thick foam core. Now you can pick up these sheets. I've already cut a strip off this. You can pick up these sheets from craft stores and art stores, sometimes framing stores for photographs and images and paintings, etc. We'll have this stuff in stock because it's frequently used for backing on photos, etc. They put it up against the wall as like a frame and put the photo on it, etc. So this stuff, if you can't come past this stuff or you don't want to spend the money, you can use cardboard. Just a normal packing carton will be fine. This stuff is very, very thin. I'd have a look for something that's a little bit thicker than this. Then we're either going to need a glue gun. I like to work with a glue gun because it makes things very quick and very easy. You don't have to hang around waiting for your white glue to dry. If you don't have a hot glue gun, you can use white glue. It's just that just something to keep in mind that as we're going through the presentation, you'll have to wait between steps while you wait for things to dry. I'm going to be using the hot glue gun today just so we can do things relatively quickly. Okay, cool. So they're the things that we'll be needing for this part of the project anyway. So let's get into the first step of making our measurements and our first cuts. Okay, so let's have a look here. I forgot to mention one thing is a cutting mat. If you don't have one of these cutting mats, you can pick them up all over the place. Again, from craft stores, art stores. You can find these in $2 shops. Like the Reject Shop, for example, here in Melbourne, up in Northlands. There's a Reject Shop very close to the Games Workshop store, and they sell these cutting mats for $4. So get yourself some of these cutting mats. I own about 7 of them, just simply because I have them all over the place. They're really, really good for keeping your blades in good condition. You don't want to be cutting directly on your table, because it's going to ruin your blade, and it's obviously going to ruin your table. Okay, let's get on with that, otherwise we'll run out of time. So take your piece of cardboard or your foam core or whatever you're using. Actually, it's nice to sketch out a few diagrams, but this process is relatively straightforward, and you'll see that as it unfolds. You can actually crank out quite a few of these buildings very, very quickly. Okay, so I'm going to start off by making a couple of quick measurements here on my board. I hope you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to make mine 18 centimeters high. Okay, I'll grab one of these buildings. Oh, boy. This building, for example, let's just take a quick measurement of that. This one is about 12.5 centimeters. I'm assuming this probably would have started at about 14, and then I started trimming stuff off the top, etc. So let's measure the highest corner. Yeah, that's 13 and a half. So I'm assuming this one started off at 14. So let's make one that's pretty much the same. So we'll go 14. So measure out your 14 centimeters. Now, if you're not good at drawing straight lines, it's just a matter of, when you want to draw straight lines, you want to make your first measurement as close to this edge as possible, okay? And then your other measurement all the way on the other side. That way when you line up your ruler or whatever you're using to draw your straight line, your two outside edges will be straight and therefore your line through the middle will be straight. It's always helpful to have a long ruler so you're not having to do things in parts. I'm going to have to do it in parts simply because this sheet is quite big and I don't have a meter ruler or a yardstick. So mark out your measurements all the way along the foam core. Then you can go through and line up your marks with your rule and go through and mark out your lines. So I'm going to do that relatively quickly. So thanks for following me along, guys. It's been really nice to have the support from everybody, and I'd just like to really say thank you to a couple of people. One obviously is Terrainaholic Bill. If you haven't checked him out, he's a full-time scenery guy. He's been around doing this for quite some time. He's has an awesome workshop. Okay, and he's a fantastic guy. I've had the pleasure of being able to chat with him on Skype, and I really look forward to catching up with him again shortly. Okay, so I've drawn my line. Now it's just a matter of taking your steel rule. I like to use a steel ruler because as I make my cuts, my blade is not going to cut into my ruler. If I'm using something that's plastic or a strip of wood or something like that, as I make my cuts down here, this blade's going to, the ruler's going to get damaged. So I just go through and make my cuts. Now, with building these city fight things, these sceneries, you don't really need to be terribly concerned with accuracy because it's going to be ruined. We're going to cut it apart anyway. Okay, so for my first cut, I use my utility knife just to go through. And you might find that you have to score the board once and then come back and cut through it again afterwards. Okay, now we'll remove that for ease of work. Okay, so with always forget to close your blades once you're finished. Okay, so now we've got our strip of cardboard. I reckon I'm going to make about 3 buildings out of this strip. Oh, look at this. This is what happens when you don't use a sharp knife. As you cut through, the back of the foam board will start to rip and tear. Again, it's not really a huge problem because we're going to texture this in a later part of the series, but that's what happens when you don't use a sharp knife. It'll also, I don't know if you can see this, create jagged edges in the foam. Again, it's not really a huge deal because we're making ruined buildings. But if you're making something crisp and clean, you need to use a sharp knife, especially with this foam core. You will need to use a sharp knife. There is no way around it. Okay. So now we've got our building laid out. We want to make another measurement, and this one is going to be for our corner piece. So we have a building that's going to sit like this, right? Like this one. Well, this is actually 2 walls and a part of a, well, 3 walls. Anyway, so I'm just going to make a corner piece, okay? So we just need 1 strip of cardboard, a flat piece, because we can fold it up in a minute. So what we do is make our first measurement. Now, my walls on this piece, again, you can vary them, make them whatever you like. My walls on that are 16, so I'm going to go a little bit smaller. And I'm going to make a square building. So each wall is going to be 12 centimeters long. Well, that's almost 5 inches. Now, when you make these, you can make a whole range of different sizes. So I'll just bring this closer. So I've made 2 marks there. I'm just going to go ahead and rule that off. That's not straight. It's not a huge issue. Okay, so 12 plus 12 is 24. So I'm going to go out to 24 for my second line. So I've got my 2 marks there, and then I straighten them out. One other thing that's really good for drawing straight lines